Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a story that, on the surface, seems like a contradiction. It's about the massive gap between what success looks like on the outside and the absolute devastation happening on the inside.
We're opening a case file from early 2024, a story that really shook Silicon Valley's tech community.
Yeah, this is the story of Chen Liren and Yu Xuanyi, and if you just read their resumes, they were the embodiment of the immigrant dream.
Absolutely. Both just 27 years old, both elite engineers at Google. They had a $2 million home in Santa Clara. I mean, they had it all.
And yet their story ends in just unbelievable tragedy. And it reveals this secret emotional war that was happening behind closed doors, something far more toxic than any kind of, corporate stress or money problems.
And that's our goal today, to get past those initial headlines. The first reports all pointed to layoffs at Google.
Right. We want to go beyond that. We're going to trace the timeline, look at the evidence, especially the digital trail they left behind, which is just shocking, and really unpack the true motivation here.
It's a story about a toxic, unresolved attachment to the past and how it completely destroyed two lives.
Let's start with who they were. The accused, Chen Liren, the husband, and the victim, Yu Xuanyi, his wife. Both Chinese nationals who had reached the absolute peak of academic achievement before they even got to the U.S.
Ambition was everything to them. It was their defining feature.
And understanding that background is so important because this wasn't just success, it was hyperachievement, the kind that's forged in China's incredibly intense academic system.
Right. Chen Liren, he came from a well-off family. His parents were civil servants, and he was always at the top of his class, known for being brilliant with, calculation and analysis.
And Yu Xuanyi was right there with him. I mean, she scored a 702 on her high school science exam.
It's hard to even explain what that means. That was the highest score in her entire district.
Right.
For anyone who doesn't know the Chinese system, a score like that is a golden ticket. It means you can go to basically any university you want.
Their whole identities were built on this kind of measurable success.
It's exactly. On achieving excellence in engineering.
So they were on these perfectly parallel paths. They both end up at Tsinghua University in Beijing. Think of it as like the MIT of China.
Both studying electronic information engineering. And here's the interesting part. They were in the same class, the same cohort, but they apparently barely knew each other.
They were just acquaintances, totally focused on their studies.
They didn't actually connect, didn't start dating until they both moved thousands of miles to the U.S. for their master's degrees in computer engineering.
Which suggests the bond wasn't this, instant spark. It was maybe more about a shared background, shared ambition in a new country.
I think so. In fact, Yu Xuanyi even described it as destiny when they finally got together.
And that destiny led them straight to the Silicon Valley dream. Chen gets this super competitive job at Google, working on the YouTube algorithm.
And Yu Xuanyi, she started out at Amazon, but then actually moved to Google to be closer to him. A huge sign of commitment, lining their careers like that.
By 2022, they're married. They buy that beautiful house in a really affluent, mostly Asian neighborhood in Santa Clara.
The picture was complete.
Flawless, even. Neighbors said they were a lovely couple, always friendly, having barbecues. And just 2 days before everything happened, Yu Xuanyi posted photos of their cat. Just normal life.
But underneath all that, this life they had built was starting to just rot from the inside out.
And then came January 16th, 2024, the day that flawless image just shattered.
The whole thing started because of a doctor's appointment. Chen Liren had a hospital checkup scheduled for 6 a.m.
A friend of his, Wang Sizhuan, was supposed to take him, but when she tried calling him, he didn't answer.
And she couldn't get a hold of Yu Xuanyi either. And that's when she started to get really worried, because Chen was always so meticulous, so on time. It was completely out of character.
So around 10 a.m., she does the right thing. She calls the police for a welfare check.
Officers get to the house at 11:10 a.m. It looks secure, totally normal from the outside, but the car is in the garage. They walk the perimeter, and that's when they find it. A window in the back garden, just slightly ajar.
And what the officers saw through that window, it just immediately set the tone for what was inside.
He saw Chen Liren. He was kneeling on the floor. His hands were raised high above his head, almost like he was surrendering.
He was wearing a dark shirt that was just covered in bloodstains. And his face, the report says he looked pale, vacant, almost catatonic.
That one visual told them everything they needed to know. They breached the door.
And the moment they got inside, they were hit with this strong, metallic smell of blood.
They immediately handcuffed Chen. The search of the house led them pretty quickly to the bedroom.
And that's where they found Yu Xuanyi. She was dead, lying in a pool of blood with severe blunt force trauma to her head.
The physical evidence was overwhelming. Chen's right hand was purple, swollen, covered in scratches. It suggested a very violent hands-on attack.
And right there, in that moment, as they're arresting him, he just mutters it. He says, "I killed my wife yesterday."
The rest of the scene was just horrific. Blood spatter on the walls, the floors, the bedroom door. It pointed to a prolonged, brutal struggle.
And there was something else, something really strange. A message was written on a wall. It said, "I have no other choice, and I accept the consequences."
And then, as police were trying to control him, he did something bizarre. He took a framed wedding photo, clenched it in his mouth, bit down on it, and then just smashed it on the floor.
It's like this final symbolic act of destroying their union.
So when the police first encounter a scene like this, especially in Silicon Valley, their minds immediately go to one thing.
Financial stress.
Exactly. The $2 million mortgage, the high cost of living, and especially the recent layoffs at Google. That was the leading theory right out of the gate.
But that theory fell apart almost immediately.
Completely debunked. Google came out and confirmed that neither of them had been laid off. Their jobs were secure. They're very lucrative jobs.
So if it wasn't money, what was it?
This is where we go back to the friend, Wang Sizwan. Her testimony turned out to be the key. She told police she had been at the house the night before, around 6 p.m. on January 15th.
And she said the atmosphere was just tense, silent, incredibly cold between them.
So, while Chen was out of the room for a moment, Yu Xuanyi told her everything. She confided in her friend the real reason for the tension.
And it had nothing to do with work.
Nothing at all. She said the problem was Chen Liren's obsession with his ex-girlfriend, a woman named Tang. He just couldn't let her go.
And this wasn't just him, thinking about an old flame. This was active.
Oh, it was very active. Yu Xuanyi told her friend that Chen had recently met up with Tang when she flew into the area. He drove her to the Seattle airport on their wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. And she had also seen them kissing and hugging at a Google work event.
But how did she know all this for sure?
Digital proof. Irrefutable. She found a file in Chen's Google Drive, a file that he was actively sharing with Tang.
So it wasn't a private diary. It was a shared space for them.
Exactly. A place where they would reminisce, celebrate their shared history. But it gets so much worse.
What was in the file?
It was just brutal emotional abuse. Chen wrote over and over again about his resentment for his wife. He told Tang that Yu Xuanyi was not half as good as she was. Less beautiful, less successful.
He was writing this to his ex about his wife.
Yes. He wrote that his life would have been better if he had never married Yu Xuanyi and had been with Tang instead. To find that, documented, shared with her rival. It must have been just psychologically shattering.
So after finding this, after realizing the full scope of it, Yu Xuanyi had made a decision.
She had. She told her friend Wang Sizwan that she was done. She was going to ask Chen for a divorce that night.
And that lines up perfectly with what the police found.
It does. They found a packed suitcase upstairs in the house. She was ready to leave him that evening.
The home security cameras actually captured the final hours. At 4:28 p.m. on the 15th, you can hear a heated argument. Yu Xuanyi shouts, "Why are you leaving?" And then you see Chen push her back into the house.
The conflict was already physical at that point.
Then, later that night, a kitchen camera loses power at exactly 10:24 p.m. And that's the time investigators believe she was killed.
The next time we see Chen on camera is hours later at 4:43 in the morning. He's covered in blood, and he looks completely disoriented.
So to really get why he was so fixated, we need to understand his history with this ex, Tang.
It was deep. They were childhood sweethearts, knew each other since they were 5 years old, dated all through high school and college.
A decades-long bond.
But Tang was actually the one who broke up with him back in 2018.
Yeah.
She said she wanted freedom, wasn't ready for marriage. But even when Chen started dating Yu Xuanyi, he was still pursuing Tang.
He even offered to buy her a house in San Francisco. He just refused to accept that it was over.
And then, in 2023, something happened that changed everything. Tang had gotten engaged to someone else, but that engagement suddenly ended. Her fiancé was arrested for illegal business activities, including prostitution.
And she was disgraced, distraught, and turned back to Chen.
Right. She turned to the one person who would never let her go. And when Chen saw that she was single again, he was apparently ecstatic. He saw his opening.
He immediately starts complaining to her about his own marriage, saying Yu Xuanyi pressured him into it, And this rekindled connection gives him this hope that he can finally get his old life back.
A hope that was about to be destroyed by Yu Xuanyi's decision to leave him.
In one final act, Yu Xuanyi actually used Chen's phone to confront Tang directly through that shared Google file.
She told her to leave them alone. And Tang's response was just shockingly cold. She basically told Yu Xuanyi she should reconsider her marriage. And this all happened just hours before the murder.
In the aftermath, the legal process has been incredibly frustrating. Chen initially denied everything despite confessing at the scene.
And his legal team quickly shifted to a mental health defense. They're claiming he acted out of some uncontrollable impulse, that he wasn't in his right mind.
This strategy has just stalled the proceedings again and again. Justice for Yu Xuanyi's family feels so far away. The hearing is now pushed to October 2025, and even that feels uncertain.
And her parents. You can't even imagine. They had trouble getting visas just to come to the U.S. They lost their only daughter, and now they have to endure this endless legal battle.
What's so chilling is that Chen has never really explained why. Why the violence? If he didn't love her and she was already packed and leaving, why kill her?
It suggests the violence wasn't about stopping her from leaving. It was about control, about him losing the ability to manipulate the situation any longer.
And it brings up this really difficult question for all of us to think about. When you're in a committed relationship, what's the ethical responsibility when it comes to a past attachment? I mean, Chen's failure wasn't just that he had old feelings.
No, it was that he was actively, maliciously pursuing his ex while systematically abusing his wife.
This story of the so-called golden couple really highlights the need for just radical honesty in relationships. If you can't truly let someone from your past go, what do you owe the partner who is building a life with you in the present?
It's a question with no easy answer.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into a really difficult case. We encourage you to follow the show for more in-depth explorations.
We will see you on the next one.